February 10, 1945. 4:47 p.m. Philippine Sea. A twin-engine transport appears on the horizon. American markings. White star gleaming on the fuselage. Descending, bleeding altitude, toward an airstrip that shouldn't exist on that map. What Lieutenant Louis Curdes does in the next 15 seconds will define everything. His stomach drops. That airstrip belongs to the Japanese. The transport is a Douglas C-47 Skytrain. 12 people on board. Crew of 4, 8 passengers. 2 of them are army nurses. They have no idea where they're landing. They have no idea they're about to die unless. Curdes stops them. He's at 3,000 feet. Close enough to see the details. Close enough to know what's about to happen. Curdes dives. Keys his radio. American transport. You are approaching a Japanese airfield. Pull up. Pull up immediately. Nothing. He tries again. Static. Dead air. Their radio is gone, burned out. Silent. Useless. The C-47 continues its descent. Landing gear down. Flaps extended. 150 feet above the runway. Below, Japanese anti-aircraft gunners track Curdes through their sights. But they're not aiming at the transport. They think it's one of theirs. A capture prize coming home. They're shooting at him instead. Curdes has 15 seconds. If that plane lands, 12 Americans will vanish into the Japanese prison system. He's read the intelligence reports, the WWII death march, the beheadings, the torture chambers, where men scream until they can't anymore. Most of them won't survive. But this story doesn't start at 4:47 p.m. on February 10th. It starts somewhere else entirely. **** Louis Edward Curdes grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. *** born November 2nd, 1919. His father, Walter, sold real estate. His mother, Esther, taught school. A middle-class family, nothing remarkable. Except for one thing, the boy kept looking up. Spent hours at Smithfield watching biplanes take off and land, their engines roaring, their wings cutting through the sky like dreams made real. By the time he enrolled at Purdue University in 1938, he already knew exactly what he wanted to be. Not a businessman, not a teacher. A pilot. Then came December 6, 1941, a Saturday. That changed everything. Curdes walks out of his Purdue dormitory and into a recruiting office. 3rd year of college. Drops out. Enlists in the Army Air Forces. He doesn't know about Pearl Harbor yet. Nobody does. That's tomorrow. That's 24 hours away. 24 hours later, recruiting stations across the country are mobbed. Waiting lists stretching for 6 months. Thousands of young men fighting for a handful of training slots. But Curdes, he's already in the system. While America scrambles to build an air force from nothing, he's learning to fly. By December 1942, he has his wings and a gold bar. 2nd Lieutenant, 23 years old. Orders to North Africa. The Army hands him a Lockheed P-38. Lightning and everything changes. The P-38 is unlike anything else in the American arsenal. Twin engines. Twin booms. Top speed 414 miles per hour. Twin machine guns and a 20mm cannon, all mounted in the nose. German pilots call it the fork-tailed devil, something to fear. Curdes paints a cartoon devil on the fuselage, gives him a halo, names the plane Good Devil, light and dark. It feels right. He joins the 82nd Fighter Group, 95th Fighter Squadron. His first combat mission is 9 days away. April 29, 1943, Mediterranean Sea. Standard escort mission protects the bombers, don't play hero. That's the rule. Follow it and come home. Then 12 Messerschmitt Bf-109s drop out of the sun. The 109 is the backbone of the Luftwaffe. Single engine. Single Seat 398 MPH. The pilots flying them have been at war scenes. 1939. Spain, Poland, France, Britain, Russia. 4 years of combat. Experience against the best pilots Europe had to offer. They've killed hundreds. They've survived against odds that would kill ordinary men. Louis Curdes has been in a combat zone for 9 days. He shoots down 3 of them. First Kila diving attack from above. His tracers walk across the 109's engine cowling. The German rolls and drops toward the sea. White foam spreading on blue water. Second kill, he spots a P-38 in trouble. Breaks formation. Dives into the fight. His cannon rounds tear through the Messerschmitt's wing root. The German spins out. 3rd Kilota 109's wingman tries to escape. Curdes follows him down to 500 feet. 1 3-second burst. The Messerschmitt cartwheels. Into the waves. 3 kills. First mission. His squadron commander doesn't know whether to promote him or ground him. May 19. Tatese. 5. Hisrea. Anna. Se. 4 weeks of combat, and he's already legendary. June 24th, 1943. Something different appears. Curdes spots a fighter he doesn't recognize. Sleek, fast, Italian markings. American C-202 Folgoritalis. Best, more maneuverable than the 109. Pilots who face them say they're the most dangerous thing in the Mediterranean. What follows is a 3-minute knife fight at 15,000 feet. Turns, reversals, climbs. The P-38 has more power. The Maki has a tighter turning radius. They're mirror images, each searching for an advantage that won't come. Then Curdes goes vertical. He pulls up, stows over the top, drops onto the Moki's tail. 1 burst. The Folgor comes apart. 6 victories, 2 different air forces. August 1943. 2 more Bf-109s fall to his guns. 8 confirmed kills. He's one of the deadliest pilots in the Mediterranean. He's only been there for months. But luck is a finite currency, and his is about to run out. August 27, 1943. Naples' mission is straightforward: escort B-25 bombers to their target. Keep the Germans off them. Come home. Except the Germans have other plans. 50 fighters rise to meet them. Bf-109s and FW-19OS. A wall of aircraft. The P-38s are outnumbered 4-1. Standard doctrine says disengage. Protect the bombers. Don't get drawn into a fight you can't win. Then Curdes hears a distress call. One of his wingmen, 3 109s, on his tail, 30 seconds from dying. He breaks formation, alone, into 50 German fighters. He gets 2 of them, but the 3rd 109 gets behind him. Cannon rounds punch through the left engine. The P-38 shudders. Fire warning light. The lightning comes down hard on a beach. Belly landing, sand spraying everywhere. He has maybe 5 minutes before patrols arrive. Curdes grabs his .45 pistol, sets the P-38 on fire, runs for the tree. The Italians catch him before sunset. He's now a prisoner of war. The P-camp is chaos. Italy is tearing itself apart. Mussolini, deposed. The new government secretly negotiating surrender. German troops flooding south. September 3rd, 1943. The radio crackles. Italy has signed an armistice. The guards know what's coming. The Germans will take over the camps. The Gestapo will arrive. Thousands will die. So they make a decision that saves Curdes' life. The guards open the cells, hand out rifles, point toward the mountains. Go. 20 Allied officers walk out. Americans, British, Canadians, all with the same destination Allied lines. But Allied lines are 150 miles south, through the Apennine Mountains, through German-occupied territory, on foot. In winter, the Apennines run down Italy's spine like a wall. Peaks over 9,000 feet. Dense forests, no roads, except the ones the Germans control. No shelter, except what you can find. No food except what strangers give you. Curdes and his group travel at night. 5 miles on a good night. 2 on a bad one. They navigate by stars when the sky is clear, by compass when it's not, by guesswork when the compass fails. Sleep comes in caves, in barns, in abandoned shepherd huts with holes in the roof where snow falls on sleeping men. Food comes from Italian farmers who risk execution to help them. A loaf of bread here, some cheese there. Never enough, always given with fear in their eyes and a finger pressed to trembling lips. Because the Germans shoot anyone who helps escaped prisoners, no mercy. Communist partisans find them in October, resistance fighters waging guerrilla war since Mussolini fell. They provide guides, safe routes around German checkpoints. Then Catholic priests take over, hiding them in ancient stone buildings where no one asks questions, where Latin prayers echo off walls that have stood for 1,000 years, where a man can disappear and the world forgets he ever existed. The winter of 1943-44 is brutal. Snow 6 feet deep in the Passas. Temperatures below 0 for weeks. Most of them are wearing the same clothes they were captured in. 1 man dies along the way. a British wing commander. Pneumonia. They bury him in an unmarked grave and keep moving. 9 months. They walk for 9 months. On May 27, 1944, Louis Curdes stumbles into Allied lines at Monte Cassino. The battle there has been raging since January. The monastery is rubble. The hillsides are covered with the dead. He's wearing Italian peasant clothes, hasn't shaved in months, speaks English with an accent acquired from 9 months of hiding. The sentries almost shoot him as a spy. Back in Fort Wayne, his parents have a telegram. Missing in action. Presumed death. His mother has already held the memorial service. Louis Curdes walks back from the grave. Most men would take the ticket home. 9 months behind enemy lines. Escaped, walked 150 miles through German-occupied territory. That's enough war for anyone. Curdes volunteers for more. But there's a catch. The Geneva Conventions prohibits escaped prisoners of war from fighting in the same theater. If the Germans recapture him, they could torture him for information. About the partisans, about the farmers, about the priests. Everyone who helped him. Their lives depend on Curdes staying out of Europe. Fine, he'll find another war. August 1944 de Pacific. New Squadron, 4th Fighter Squadron, 3rd Air Commando Group. New Basida, Philippines. New aircraft 2P-51D Mustang. The Mustang is the war's perfect fighter. A Packard-built Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. 1,490 horsepower. Top speed 437 miles per hour at 25,000 feet. Range 1,650 miles with drop tanks. 6.50 caliber machine guns with enough ammunition for 18 seconds of continuous fire. Faster than his P-38. More agile. Longer range. He names it Bad Angel. The opposite of Good Devil. Light and dark. Europe and Pacific. Something about that name feels like prophecy. February 7th, 1945. Southwest of Formosa, Curdes spots a twin-engine aircraft at 12,000 feet. Japanese markings, a Mitsubishi Ki-46, codename Taina. Fast, unarmed, built to run. Curdes doesn't give it the chance. One burst, the Ki-46 explodes. 7 German planes. 1 Italian, 1 Japanese. 3 enemy air forces. Only 2 other American pilots in the entire war will match that feat. But Curdes isn't finished. 3 days later, he's going to add a 4th flag to his scoreboard. This one will be red, white, and blue. This one will be impossible. This one will be the moment that matters most. February 10th, 1945. Curdes leads a 4-ship flight over the Formosa Strait. They find a Japanese airfield on Baton Island. Target of opportunity. The 4 Mustangs dive. 2 Japanese fighters destroyed in the air. 3 more burning on the ground. Lieutenant Lacroix takes a direct hit. His engine dies. He puts it down in the Philippine Sea. 300 yards from shore. Curdes sends 2 pilots back to call for rescue. Then he goes to work. For 30 minutes, he strafes the Japanese positions. Every time someone moves toward the beach, he puts .50 caliber rounds in front of them. He's burning fuel he can't spare. But nobody is capturing his wingmen, not while he's still flying. That's when the C-47 appears ascending toward the airstrip. The C-47 took off from Leyte 5 hours earlier. Routine flight to Manila. Should have been easy. 2 hours in the air. Then they flew into a weather system that wasn't on any forecast. A tropical depression spinning up from the south. Lightning. Sheets of white fire outside the cockpit windows. Then turbulence. The aircraft dropping 50 feet. Slamming back up. Dropping again. Passengers thrown against the ceiling. The pilot fought the controls. Tried to climb above it. Tried to descend below it. Nothing worked. Then the radio died. Electrical discharge. The equipment smoked. Sparked. Went silent. For 2 hours, they flew blind. No navigation, no communication. Just a compass, a fuel gauge, and prayer. When they broke clear, the fuel gauge was touching red. Nothing looked familiar. Nothing matched the charts. The pilot saw an island, an airfield. He didn't question it. He had no way of knowing it was Japanese. Curdes sees the C-47 at 150 feet, seconds from touchdown. He tries the radio, nothing. He dives in front of the transport, rocks his wings. The C-47 keeps descending. He fires a burst ahead of the nose, tracer rounds lighting up the sky. The transport doesn't waver. The Japanese gunners are shooting at Curdes now protecting the C-47. They think it's a captured prize. They think an American pilot is trying to stop their prize from landing. Curdes has run out of options. He knows what capture means. The Bataan Death March. 75,000 soldiers forced to walk 65 miles. Anyone who fell was bayoneted. 10,000 dead in 6 days. The prison camps, 800 calories a day. Dysentery, beatings, executions, the massacres. 150 Peus at Palawan, herded into shelters, and burned alive. Pilots beheaded with samurai swords. 12 people are about to experience that unless he stops them. He swings behind the C-47, lines up on the left engine. This is the moment that will define his life. The moment history will ask about, the moment his daughter will still be talking about 60 years later. He pulls the trigger. The burst is surgical. 50 caliber rounds punch through the left engine. The propeller seizes. The C-47 keeps flying. The pilot banks toward the water. The C-47 hits the Philippine Sea at 90 miles per hour. The fuselage holds. Live rafts deploy. 12 survivors in the water. All alive. Lacroix paddles over. 13 people now. Curdes drops a note scribbled, desperate, clear. For God's sake, stay away from shore. Jap's there. He circles until his fuel gauge touches empty. Then he turns for home. Before dawn, Curdes is back. He leads a PBY Catalina to the crash site. Everyone accounted for, everyone alive. 2 of the passengers are army nurses. One is named Svetlana. Curdes had a date with her the night before. He'd had to cancel for the mission. Jipos, he says later, shaking his head. 7 109s and 1 Mokki in North Africa, 1 Ki-46 and 1 Yank in the Pacific. And I have to go out and shoot down the girlfriend. General George Kenney commands Allied Air Forces in the Southwest Pacific. An American pilot just shot down an American plane, destroyed government property, and saved 12 lives. Kenney hands Curdes a medal, the Air Medal, for shooting down a friendly aircraft. I told him I hoped he wouldn't feel called on to repeat that performance, Kenney says. On the nose of Bad Angel, the ground crew adds a new kill marking. An American flag. 4 nations. 4 flags. No other pilot in World War II can make that claim. The girl in the life raft is named Svetlana Valeria Shostakovich Brownell, born in Harbin, Manchuria. Russian immigrant family. Her uncle was Dmitri Shostakovich, the composer, the greatest composer of the 20th century. Her stepfather was a U.S. Marine. He brought the family to America before the Japanese invaded Manchuria. She ended up floating in the Philippine Sea because a pilot from Indiana shot her airplane down. Because a man she barely knew made a choice that saved her life. According to Curdes' daughter, my dad might have been dating a nurse on the plane, but he went out on a blind date with my mom in Los Angeles. The truth is somewhere in between. Here's what's not in dispute. April 13th, 1946. Allen County, Indiana. Louis Curdes marries Svetlana Brownell. 49 years. 2 children. A quiet life in Fort Wayne. Whatever happened in that life raft lasted half a century. After the war, Curdes stays in uniform. The Berliner Luft, 1948-49. He flies C-54 Skymasters into Tempelhof. 277 days of round-the-clock operations. 2.3 million tons of supplies, flying food and coal to a city that should have starved. October 1963. Lieutenant Colonel Louis Curdes retires. 22 years of service. He starts a construction company, builds houses instead of shooting down planes. February 5th, 1995, Fort Wayne. Louis Curdes Diaz at 75. They bury him at Linnywood Cemetery. 9 aerial victories. 4 national flags. POW, escape. 9 months behind enemy lines. Berlin, airlift veteran. And the only American pilot ever decorated for shooting down an American plane. His widow Svetlana dies in October 2013. Buried beside him, right where she belonged. The math of February 10th, 1945. 12 Americans on that C-47. 0 survivors if they landed. 12 survivors because a 25-year-old pilot made a choice. No manual ever covered. Louis Curdes had 15 seconds. Shoot down a friendly plane or watch 12 people disappear into the Japanese prison system. He chose the trigger. And then he married one of them. That's not a war story. That's a love story. Strange and violent and impossible, but a love story all the same. Most heroes get statues, parades, their names on buildings. Louis Curdes got a flag on his airplane. 4 flags, German, Italian, Japanese, American. The last one is the one that matters. The one nobody else has. The one that says, sometimes the right choice looks exactly like the wrong one. Sometimes you have to shoot down your own people to save them. And sometimes, if you're lucky, one of them becomes your everything.